Good morning to
Hi.
you. You've been very fulsome, haven't you, in your praise and support for Lindsay Hoyle. You don't want him to go anywhere. Why is that?
Well, look, Lindsay made a bad decision on Wednesday. No, his decision was indefensible. I certainly wouldn't try and defend his decision. He made completely the wrong decision. But look, he made a mistake. Unlike most politicians, he's come to the House of Commons at least twice now to say, I made a mistake. If only other MPs would be quite so willing to come forward and say, I made a mistake. He admits he made a mistake, and he apologised for making that mistake. And look, if the point I made is that if everyone lost their job every time they made a mistake, I would have lost my job within about a week of being elected to Parliament 19 years ago, and I probably would have lost it every week since.
But if he does hang on here, is his position, though, forever tainted?
No, I don't see why it should be. Look, he made a bad decision, and I think, look, there should be much more focus, if you don't mind me saying so, on Keir Starmer and the role he played in putting intolerable pressure on the Speaker. I mean, I've spoken to Labour MPs about what happened, and basically
He denies it, doesn't he?
No, he says he urged the Speaker to agree to the motion. He said that's what he said. I mean,
quite careful wording.
He's never actually said what he. What I'd like to know is what did he actually say to the Speaker? That's not for the Speaker to disclose. That's for Keir Starmer to disclose. But what I've heard from Labour MPs is that basically he's told the Speaker that Labour MPs would be at risk if he didn't agree to this amendment. And I've even heard the phrase he would have blood on his hands. Now that is putting the Speaker in an intolerable position. And I think that's the biggest scandal of all in this.
Philip, do you believe Sir Lindsay when he says he made that decision because of fears for MPs' safety?
Yeah, I think, and of course that's completely indefensible too, because we can't have a situation where, in effect, we're making decisions in Parliament because of that's mob rule. OK,
well, this brings us on to Suella Braverman's article today in The Telegraph, and it is very, very strongly worded. I mean, she talks about the Islamists, the extremists, the anti-Semites are in charge now. We're sleepwalking into a ghettoised society where free expression and British values are diluted. Some people would say that she's doing this to get votes, and it's a leadership pitch. Why would people be wrong to think that? And is this sort of language actually helpful?
Well, look, Suella should, as we've just been talking about, Suella should say what she thinks, and she shouldn't be cowed into not saying what she thinks. Otherwise, we're back in the situation where people aren't saying what they think because of mob rule. Presumably, she's saying this because that's what she thinks. I don't think there's any suggestion that she doesn't actually believe this. Whether she has an ulterior motive for a leadership.
Did you read it and think, oh, this is a leadership pitch from her?
I don't think Suella's hidden the fact that she probably would like to run for the leadership. She has done in the past, so the chances are she will do again. But look, I think with all of these things, we should take people, what they say, at face value, that's what they believe, and rather than try to undermine the reasons for doing it, let's look at what she said. I think there's a lot of truth in what she says.
Has she been vindicated? Because she was sacked for basically saying that the police were going soft on the pro-Palestine marches.
No, she wasn't sacked for. I mean, let's be honest. She basically sacked herself, basically, and whether that was deliberate.
Going ahead with that column in the.
Look, I've never been a minister because I want to speak freely, right? It's a choice I've made. What you can't do is you can't become a minister and still think you can speak freely. She basically was publishing articles without getting clearance from Number 10, which is a breach of the ministerial code.
Right,
but she
was right, wasn't she, in the content of what she was saying?
Well, when I got elected in 2005, I was the parliamentary spokesman for the campaign against political correctness, which I did for many years. And I was warning about this for years, that basically we've got ourselves into a situation in this country, and I was a lone voice saying this for years and years and years, that we're in a situation in this country where people are afraid to say what they think. I'm not talking about extremists, I'm talking about perfectly ordinary, decent people in this country are petrified of what words they use, what they say, in case some zealot takes exception to it and tries to force them out of their job, etc., etc. This has been happening for years and years and years. And the culmination, I guess, of this was the House of Commons changing its rules in order to appease a mob. And we mustn't allow that ever to happen again. That must never, ever happen again. But what we've got to get back to this belief in free speech. And I've got to say, other politicians don't help. The media don't often help. They clamp down on people who say something.
Well, not GB News, I can tell you that.
No, I'm not, absolutely. But what we've got to do is we've got to allow people to have their say, because otherwise, we don't live in a free society.
Yeah.
And we should all be afraid of that.
OK.